welcome everyone to today's installment of PharmaComms TV. Our guest today is Joe Shields, and I thought we could start out by asking you a little bit about Health Accelerators and how that came to be.
My partner and I, Joe Meadows, we started Health Accelerators. He had a separate company for about 8 years prior to that, but I had been in pharma for about, as you said, about 25 years, and in some of the leading companies, Wyeth, Pfizer, Merck, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson. And, you get to a certain point in your life and your career where you want to try something different. So I think it was time to, look around, see what other agencies were doing, kind of do some introspection, see what I liked about agencies that I worked with, in the last couple of decades, what I didn't like, and I think where the needs were. So we really tried to focus Health Accelerators, I would say, more on the front end of communications. So biopharma and brand strategy, communications planning, core messaging, visualizations, and things like that. Certainly we can do tactical work, but we tend to focus, I'd say, more on the upfront planning.
This actually leads us into a question regarding digital transformation and how you see it going forward.
Our industry is the only industry that calls a product new for 6 months, but they call the internet new for 25 years. And I think that's where pharma is in that kind of mindset, where it's still a little strange. And even though we have, 25 years of experience now, both in education and promotion and using kind of digital tools, both in our personal lives and our business lives, there's still kind of some trepidation. It's not the Salesforce, it's not your typical Congress. But on the other hand, it's been around for 25 years. So there's a whole generation or two of pharma marketers, especially, that have just treated this as one of their traditional tactics. So I think it's time to kind of shake off the idea that digital transformation is a thing. And for me, it's really about business transformation. It's about keeping up with, the regulations, sustainability, your customers. Certainly digital is one way to do that, and there's lots of tools in your arsenal. But I think fundamentally, it's about changing your business and adapting your business to survive. And it's less about being digital or using the internet. I think it's more about finding, identifying what problem you're trying to solve, and then finding the most efficient and effective means of solving it.
Is there a next level in terms of digital communications that we haven't really explored yet, or that you feel is woefully underserved?
So we've had, the fact that people do not go to medical congresses, at least not right now, or at least not in the way they used to. Right. We have sales reps that have launched products, over last summer and into the fall, all virtually, without any visits to physicians. We've had virtual health, or digital telehealth, within the United States really taking off because, reimbursements changed and the fact of social distancing and things like that. So the question I ask myself is, okay, everyone's had to change. They've been forced to change for this pandemic and lots of other reasons in 2020 and early 2021. The question is what things are going to stick and which ones are not, right?
Do you see any barriers in reaching HCPs? Are they receptive to this type of thing, or are they just so busy that they don't even have the time?
So you can imagine, wanting to see a pharmaceutical sales rep is probably not high on their list, right? So they have, a lot of them have actually kind of turned over their private practices, and now they're working for somebody. They're working for a health system or an integrated delivery network. And so for them, it's a regular job, and they're not going to fight for prior auth. Sometimes they're not going to fight for things that are off formulary because there's no incentive for them to do that. And I think, if you look at the flip side of that, patients, our healthcare system in the US, as everybody knows, is in trouble. And there's a lot of concern for patients too, in terms of their out-of-pocket costs have gone dramatically up, in the last 25 years.
Where do you see the new normal landing?
There's different generations at play and different expectations, but for the most part, I think people who have tasted working from home, particularly if they don't, have homeschooling and some of these other stresses on their life, if they can just work from home, cut out the commute, still engage with their colleagues, still get the work done. I think, companies are really starting to really think about space in terms of, do they need real estate, but they're also thinking about, I can hire anybody in anywhere in the world. I don't need to hire people locally to my office, which I think will be a big change. I mean, we're already starting to see that in New York and in San Francisco and Austin, Texas, and we're starting to see a migration of talent. But at the same time, we're also seeing people who live in less expensive areas of the country and of the world that are able to work for world-class companies that maybe have offices in big cities, but they never have to be there.